The Kansas State Wildcats dominate and continue to make a statement at the NFL Draft.
You are Locked On Kansas State, your daily podcast on the Kansas State Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Kansas State, your daily Kansas State Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Christian Rauh, and thank you so much for making Locked On Kansas State your first listen every single day. Welcome back to my everydayers. Happy Monday. We're diving into a Kansas State football talk, and it's about some former Wildcats heading to the pros. The NFL Draft was just this past weekend, and we have 8 Kansas State Wildcats. Like I said, 8 to talk about after the draft has finished. Before we dive into it, talk about the ones that are drafted, talk about the ones that are heading to new teams. This episode is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console required. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Well, I said 8, right? 4 players drafted of former Kansas State Wildcats over the weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then right after the draft, 4 other players were signed to undrafted free agents. We're going to dive into all of them. Great stories for this, but Kansas State continues to make a statement here, continues to dominate in the NFL draft, recruiting and producing and developing transfers, homegrown players, whatever you want to call it. Coach Kleiman and his coaching staff continue to deliver and prove that Manhattan isn't just a place where you sit and jump to another school and then make the NFL draft. You can do it in Manhattan. You can make it happen. And it's proof is right here. Just happened this past weekend. Let's dive into it. The 4 that were drafted, 2 on the defensive side, 2 on the offensive side. Let's start on the defense because the first player drafted for the Kansas State Wildcats was Jacob Parrish. And we all knew this was going to be the case. We all knew Parish was most likely going to be the first Kansas State Wildcat drafted. The way the board fell, I thought he might possibly be drafted a little higher. There were some mocks that came out saying he might actually go into the 60s, possibly make it to the second round, but that didn't happen. We had to wait until the third round for his name to be called, and that's fine. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select him with the 84th overall selection in the third round of the NFL draft, and Jacob Parrish, I think, is going to just have a great career in Tampa Bay. And if you look at what Tampa Bay's roster looks like, they actually drafted another cornerback right in front of him in Benjamin Morris. Now, coming out of Notre Dame, he has some hip injuries. We'll see if he's able to play right away. But it's a different type of corner. I think Jacob Parrish has the opportunity to become the starting nickel cornerback for Tampa Bay from the get-go. He'll have to fight with Tyreek Smith from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I think it's absolutely likely that he finds a way to start for Tampa Bay year one, his rookie year. I really do think that there's an opportunity for that to happen. And don't just take my word for it. As the host of Lockdown Kansas State, we're seeing multiple reporters come out with that same thought process that are Tampa Bay writers. Adam Sylvan, saw it on Twitter, the Bucs beat reporter for the Pewter Report, put out this on Twitter. He said Jacob Parrish will immediately compete and likely win the starting nickelback job. Parrish stands out for his physicality despite his 5'10", 191-pound frame. He'll be a fun piece in the secondary and is lightning quick. Remember, he had a 4.35 40-yard dash at the combine. So it shows that he has the opportunities. And I think we've seen it time in and time out watching him play football for Kansas State. He's an absolute dog, and he has the opportunity and the ability to play nickelback at a very high level on Sundays. And I think we are going to see that in Tampa. I think it's a great fit for him. I think Tampa had probably one of the better drafts in all of the NFL if you're looking at it from a value standpoint, and Jacob Parrish fits right there. As I mentioned, I thought he could have been a potential second-round pick in the 60s, high 60s. They get him in the mid-80s. So, again, this is the way the board fell. Tampa Bay, I think, had one of the most value drafts, and Jacob Parrish is one of those biggest reasons why that happened. The other defensive player from Kansas State, Marcus Siegel, goes in the 5th round, pick 160 to the San Francisco 49ers. And again, he lands in a great spot as well. Now, there's been some places where we thought that Siegel was going to go in the 7th round. When we talked about what we were hearing in the mocks, we heard 7th round all around. It was maybe San Francisco went for a quote reach, if you will, but I think that they know the value in what they saw at the combine. Siegel had a great combine, and it just shows that once again, these teams know what they're talking about. 49ers pick him in the 5th round. Versatility is going to be the biggest reason why Siegel has one of the best. It has the opportunity to be one of the best players in the league when it comes to defensive side, and actually shows the opportunity. Now, he'll probably start more of a special team side, has the opportunity to start, and that's mostly because of the news that just came out right after the draft. Adam Scheffler reported that 49ers safety Malik Mustafa, was believed to be the replacement safety for San Francisco, tore his ACL in that final regular season game for San Francisco last season. It's not expected to be ready for the 2025 season. If you go and look at the depth chart for San Francisco right now, Siegel has a prime opportunity to maybe not start, but see some actual solid time in the secondary in his first year with San Francisco. That's saying a lot. That's some really exciting stuff for someone who is expected to potentially go in the 7th round or undrafted, finds himself in the 5th round. And then all of a sudden we're talking about, okay, maybe he actually has a position, a path to see some prime and important playing time right off the bat. In a defense that is rebuilding, San Francisco lost a lot of players, but with a defense that has one of the greatest defensive-minded defensive coordinators in the league in Robert Saleh, who returns back to San Francisco this year. The draft did him well. San Francisco took care of him on defense, drafted a lot of defensive players, and Siegel being one of them. I like San Francisco's draft as well. Not as much as I like Tampa's in the value standpoint, but San Francisco had a lot of work to do. They had to take care of a lot of pieces, and maybe that is the reason why they, again, quote unquote, reached for a safety in Marcus Siegel early, because they knew of this injury and they want to take care of it and make sure they got the right guy. I think they got the right guy. We'll see if that happens again on Sundays, but congratulations to both these defensive players. And it just proves that it doesn't matter if you're homegrown, if you're a walk-on, or if you're a transfer, Kansas State is showing out and showing that you can make it to the league. Transfers continue to be great and get drafted from Kansas State out of the secondary. So who's next? Could it be Gunnar Maldonado? Could it be Moss? How about the corners? Could be like Jalen Rauh or Aaron Fortenberry. Could those be the next players on the list from potential players that we see in the NFL draft that just transferred in, right? Where they're on the right path to do so. We've been really excited what we saw from this winter transfer portal, and those are just some of the names. We've heard about this new speed, this new strength and conditioning that we're hearing from how they've dealt in the spring. And one guy who sticks out, not someone who just came in the portal, but someone who's been with Kansas State for some time now, is VJ Payne. And VJ Payne is certainly on the right path with his speed, with his presence on the field. If he has another step forward this season, which I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, he is right on the path to being one of the next players to be drafted in the NFL out of this Kansas State secondary. They're building this unit that they're constantly bringing in Kansas State cornerbacks. We just saw DJ Reed get a huge contract in free agency to go to Detroit. And now we're seeing these players in Jacob Parrish and Marcus Siegel getting drafted in both the 3rd and the 5th rounds. Awesome stuff by what we're seeing at Kansas State. But what about the offense? We can't leave them out, right? No, not at all. Actually, 2 former Kansas State Wildcats on the offensive side get drafted as well. Let's talk about that next, right here on Locked On Kansas State. This episode of Locked On Kansas State is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place a $5 bet, you can get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy. Love the interface, and whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into the player props, I am absolutely hooked on FanDuel. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuels have so many ways to bet on your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into the same game parlay for your chance to win big. So don't miss out. Again, place your first $5 bet, get a $250 bonus bet. So head to FanDuel.com and claim that bonus bet today. Welcome back to Locked On Kansas State, your daily Kansas State Wildcats podcast. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. We are continuing to grow this channel every single day, and it is so fun watching that number just keep ticking up because it shows that we have a great community here already. Love the comments coming in. Love all the support that you feed this channel, and it is so much fun covering the Kansas State Wildcats every single day. So thank you so much again for making this your first listen today. We talked about the two defenders for Kansas State in the last segment, what happened to them, 3rd and 5th rounds. Well, also in that 5th round, just a couple picks before Marcus Siegel, actually, DJ Giddens was picked by the Indianapolis Colts. In the 5th round, pick 151, and I'm surprised that he fell this far. It's just the way the board fell. And we're going to talk about potential slipping throughout this segment because it was kind of the thing. It was just the thing that happened in this draft. Multiple players slipped. The main storyline, if you will, was about a former Big 12 player, and it was all about slipping. I don't think I have to tell you about that, but we actually will cover that in just a moment. DJ Giddens getting drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, pick 151 in round 5, and right off the bat, when I initially thought about it and saw it, I was like, man, this kind of sucks because Indianapolis has their running back fit. You know, they have Jonathan Taylor. My first initial thought was, man, that's not a great fit for DJ Giddens. But then I took it a little farther. I took a step back, waited for some like depth charts to upload and update, kind of gave it a day. And then I'm looking a little bit more, and now I'm thinking this might be a great running back duo, a running back by committee, if you will, in Indianapolis. Now, Jonathan Taylor obviously going to have the majority of the carries, but the more I look into it, in Indianapolis Colts Sports Illustrated page had a report that came out and saying that Giddens is the perfect complement for Jonathan Taylor in that running back room. And after reading that and after kind of getting some thoughts, I couldn't agree more because he has this same kind of comp as what we saw with Indianapolis and Marlon Mack a few years ago. Injuries kind of ruined that issue. And DJ Giddens has the opportunity to be a nice 1-2 punch with Jonathan Taylor. I mean, we know that Giddens is a home run hitter. We know he has the ability to make some great plays in both rushing and receiving. Now, some people like to give him a hit saying he doesn't catch the ball well out of the backfield. I don't buy that. I think he has the opportunity to be a great running back in the league. And he'll be the first person to tell you that he thinks he wants to upgrade and improve his catching because I'm sure he hears the people talk about it. He talked about it just a few days ago when he was interviewed on Good Morning Football, how he'd like to be able to catch the ball better. I don't think that's going to be an issue for him in the league. I think he has the opportunity to be a great running back in the league. I was hoping he'd go to a more of a role that could maybe potentially make him a running back 1 right away. That won't happen with Jonathan Taylor unless there's an injury, and you don't want to see that. But we've seen in the past Jonathan Taylor work well with a guy like Zach Moss, who's more of a brawler, more of a bruiser, if you will. Giddens is not as big like that, but has still the opportunity to have a nice 1-2 punch in the league. So the more I think about it, I'm excited. I would like to see him go to a different place, but I still think he can thrive in Indianapolis. And then finally, on the offensive side, a former Kansas State Wildcat transferred to Ohio State last year, win a national championship, and that's former quarterback Will Howard, went to the Pittsburgh Steelers with the 6th round, 185 pick overall. And I will say this before I dig into Will Howard, just one little caveat on the Kansas State side. You don't have to transfer out of Kansas State. This is proof right here. You don't have to transfer out of Kansas State to get drafted in a good position. Jacob Parrish, Marcus Siegel, DJ Giddens all proved that because all 3 of them went ahead of Will Howard. So take that as you will. I know different positions. Sure, I got it. But all of them went before Will Howard in this case. But that's the only knock that I'm going to give on Will Howard on this conversation because that's not what I'm talking about here. Just wanted to kind of more push the fact of you don't need to leave Manhattan to go to the NFL. And I think all these players that we're talking about are more than proof. But Will Howard going 185 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is an absolutely perfect fit for Will Howard. He will actually join another former Kansas State Wildcat, at least for the time being, Skylar Thompson, in the same quarterback room. He joins him and Mason Rudolph as the 3 quarterbacks currently on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. We'll see if that all changes. If you're paying attention to any NFL news, one of the biggest free agent news that's still yet to happen is, what will Aaron Rodgers do? Will he join the Pittsburgh Steelers? One of the reasons why they didn't draft a quarterback until Will Howard that late at round 6. But I think even if Aaron Rodgers joins, he'll still be able to see some potential playing time deep in the season, maybe, or early. Regardless, I think we're going to see a good idea of what Will Howard can be at the NFL level this preseason. They're going to give him every opportunity they possibly can to see what they have moving forward, because even if they do bring Aaron Rodgers in, that's a 1-year deal. It doesn't get any bigger than that. Aaron Rodgers is in his 40s. So they're looking for their quarterback of the future. As much as they like to talk about Mason Rudolph and how Mike Tomlin says that he feels comfortable with him as his quarterback, he's not the future. There's a reason they let him walk to Tennessee last year, and then they brought him back. They're looking for their quarterback of the future. And Will Howard has a comp that some people like to call him a comp towards Ben Roethlisberger when it comes to his size and his frame. Well, that guy did pretty well in Pittsburgh. So we'll see if that happens in the future. Regardless, I think it's a great spot for him to grow and develop in this league. And if you're under Mike Tomlin, with some great weapons, by the way, DJ Metcalf, George Pickens as your wide receivers, and Will Howard played very good with the wide receivers he had at Ohio State this past season, and we all know how great he was at Kansas State. I think he could be a very good quarterback in the league. I think round 6 was definitely too low for him, and there was definitely some quarterbacks that went above him that I was, quite frankly, laughing at the TV when I saw it, but I'm not an NFL GM. And we all know that there are multiple players that get picked very early, especially in the quarterback level, that get picked very early in drafts, and we look back at it and say, what were they thinking? And they become bust or whatever the case may be. And then you have undrafted players, you have 5th round, 6th round players that get drafted and stick around the league for 10 years, whether it's starting or becoming backup roles or whatever the case and that. But Will Howard, I think, has the opportunity, if given the shot, whether it's this season or post Aaron Rodgers or whatever the case may be, to be a solid NFL quarterback. And if not, I think he still has the tools and the football IQ. I mean, if you saw the John Gruden conversation that he had, I was ready to run through a wall when he had his little quarterback thing on YouTube just a few weeks ago. Will Howard and John Gruden sitting down talking. It was so fun. If you haven't watched that, check that out. I think it's on Barstool Sports, but super, super fun to watch. I think he has the opportunity to be a quarterback in this league for a decade, whether it's starter or role player, bench, whatever the case you want to be. But I do really think that is where it is. Speaking of another quarterback in the Big 12, it was the biggest story in the NFL draft. I want to get to that next. And of course, the undrafted free agents for Kansas State, because there's 4 of them that I want to get to as we wrap up this show right here on Locked On Kansas State. This episode of Locked On Kansas State is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Did you see how those Indiana Pacers are looking lately? My God, it's been really interesting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is super high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets even closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. That's perfect timing when you're talking playoff basketball. Here's why I use Game Time, not just because of that Game Time price, but those last-minute deals, like I mentioned, save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets on sports and concerts, comedy, theater, everything you love, you name it, it's perfect. Their all-in-one pricing also means no surprise fees at checkout when you see what you pay for. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And you know I got to tie it in somehow when we do that, and we'll definitely do that right here. Welcome back to the show, Locked On Kansas State. I'm your host, Christian Rauh. Click that subscribe button as we are growing every single day. Before we get to that news story, if you will, the biggest story in the NFL draft that included and involved a Big 12 player, I'll talk about these undrafted free agents for Kansas State. And there was 4 of them, and they're all across the league. So you got 8 players that were drafted on 8 different NFL teams. So that's pretty cool. Kansas State, as of right now, not counting everybody that's in the league, just in this draft alone, is covering 25% of the league. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's pretty fun to look at if these undrafted free agents can make the team. And just for the record, just because you didn't get drafted doesn't mean you won't make the team. About 20% of undrafted free agents make an NFL roster, make about the 53-man roster. About 20% of those 53-man rosters are filled with undrafted free agents. And then if you add in what the practice squad that was just updated to, I think 14 or 16 players. Don't quote me on that. It's up. It's not 10 anymore. It's higher. I think it's like 16 with an international player or something around that number. But with that number now is around 40% of undrafted free agents that still stay in contact, either on the practice squad or in close contact with a NFL franchise. So just because you didn't go drafted, you weren't one of the 257 picks in the NFL draft, 256, 257, doesn't mean you don't have your shots blown. Doesn't mean it's over. So for these 4 players, they still have an opportunity to not only make a 53-man roster, but to make a practice squad and find themselves on a team eventually. Offensive lineman Easton Kitley finds himself on the New Orleans Saints. We see linebacker Austin Moore go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Wide receiver Ty Bowman goes to the Denver Broncos. And cornerback Keenan Garber heads to the Minnesota Vikings. So there you go. Got those 3 players in. Really exciting for this to see. So 8 players overall are finding an opportunity to make an NFL roster. 8 rookies have Kansas State ties. Who is your favorite one of the 4 that were drafted with their positions? How do you think that who has the best fit out of the 4 drafted? Who has the best chance of making a roster of the 4 that are undrafted? Let me know in the comment description below. Excuse me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But before we wrap this up, got to dig into probably the biggest draft story all weekend. And if you want to even go farther, I think the 2 biggest draft stories this weekend involved Big 12 players, and they both involved Colorado Buffaloes, with Travis Hunter getting traded, the Jacksonville Jaguars trading up with the Cleveland Browns for the 2nd overall pick to select Travis Hunter. And then his teammate, his quarterback, son of Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, slipping all the way down into the late rounds and not being picked up until round 5. Was predicted to be a top 5 pick and becomes a round 5 pick. So had to really just bring up this conversation because, one, it could make you think about, does this impact recruiting at a Big 12 level? And just kind of putting it in ties to Kansas State. I don't think so. I think it goes a little bit more on the personal side, to me, in my opinion. I don't know if NFL was trying to make a statement with the whole Deion Sanders family, or if they were talking about Shedeur and how he handled some of the combine. Either way, I don't think it has anything to do with recruiting. I don't think it's going to impact anything with the Big 12 conference or at the Power 4 level. I don't think it's that deep. But I did hear some people talk about that portion, and maybe even just Colorado alone. I don't think it's going to impact it at all. But I think it's worth a conversation. But I don't think it's going to have anything to do with Kansas State, period. And the reason I don't think it has anything to do with Kansas State, and mainly the quarterback issue, is look at what we've seen from Chris Kleiman and, in this case, now Matt Wells over the past couple seasons with just the world. And I think Avery Johnson is going to be totally okay when his chance comes for the NFL draft. And I'll leave you with this right here. Chris Kleiman's quarterbacks just since he's been a head coach. Carson Wentz, when he was with North Dakota State, Carson Wentz, 2nd overall draft pick. Easton Stick, 5th round pick. Trey Lance was the number 3 overall draft pick. then comes to Kansas State. Skylar Thompson was a 7th-round draft pick, is still in the league. As we mentioned, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback room right now. Will Howard joins him, 6th-round draft pick in Pittsburgh. Adrian Martinez is the only player that didn't get drafted but still found himself on a practice squad in the NFL. And then that leaves you Avery Johnson, who, oh, by the way, has the Kansas State season passing touchdown record. That was his first year as a starting quarterback. I'm very excited to see what Avery Johnson has in store for him moving forward. If the Shedeur Sanders story taught us anything, it's that maybe you want to make sure that you don't leave right away. Maybe you don't want to enter the draft until you've played all of your eligibility. Maybe that's the only thing it taught us. I'm not sure. Because Shedeur Sanders technically had another year in the league or another year in college, and he decided to forego that and enter the NFL draft. And that probably cost him a lot of money in the eyes of NIL these days. I don't think Avery Johnson is going to declare for the NFL draft after this season. I think we're going to get him for 2 years. That's my personal opinion. And I think we're going to get at least one college football playoff win. Not an appearance. We're going to make an appearance, dare I say, twice with Avery Johnson. But I think we'll win at least one game in the college football playoffs. Would you like that? I'm not saying we're going to make the national championship. Would I love that? Absolutely. But I think that's a stretch. I mean, it's just a stretch to say. Only 2 teams make that every year. I think if I came to you and said, we're going and winning the national championship, I think you'd think I'm insane. It's not because I don't think it's possible. It's just I think in April, I think that's just an absolute stretch. You could probably say me saying they're making the college football playoffs is a stretch. I'll say hold your horses on that one. Maybe a little Lee Corso, if you will. Not so fast, my friend. The reason I say that is because this team has what it takes. After seeing what happened with 7-1 last year, yeah, they fell off a little bit, but I think they're going to fix it. I think this team's going to have a chip on their shoulder, and a lot of people are coming back. They're running it back to prove that there was no mistake. So being at the top of the Big 12, being in the college football playoffs, I don't think that's a stretch whatsoever. Saying national championship, getting through the gauntlet of a 12-team college football playoffs where anything is possible, okay, that might be a stretch in April. We can talk about that in August and September, okay, when they start playing good football. We got more for you coming up later on this week. Plenty more to talk about. We have a huge May lined up for you. I got a cool series we're going to dig into, diving into every Big 12 team to make sure you are the most informed Kansas State fan, and not only just college or Kansas State fan, but college athletic fan out there. We got a lot to talk about. I got some thoughts on basketball I want to dig out as well. We'll get into that in a later episode, both on the men's and women's side. Again, got to make sure you're covered every single step of the way. If you're not already, please hit subscribe. We are gaining new followers every single day, and it is so fun to watch that number grow. Thank you so much for making Locked On Kansas State your first listen. Thank you so much. Please like the video. Please subscribe. And this has been Locked On Kansas State.